Hi, my name is Linda. I am a herbalist who works with herbal energetics. I am going to share some of the things that I have learned personally having systemic nickel allergy syndrome when it comes to gourmet salts. What I'm going to share is for information only. It is not giving any kind of medical advice. When I switched over to the low nickel diet based on the recommendation of immunology, it involved cutting out a lot of foods that I thought to be healthy. Each time I've cut out a food, I've tried to add one that is just as equally healthy to my diet. Before my systemic nickel allergy, I really didn't know much about salt. I knew salt was mostly sodium chloride, and I used common table salt on my food. I really didn't know much about gourmet salts at all. Developing a systemic nickel allergy challenged me to look into different salts, their composition, their mineral content, and it has ended up really blessing me and my family. Different types of gourmet salt have different shapes and mineral compositions. And this gives the salt different textures and flavors. It can be quite the experience. Currently, my family orders gourmet salts in bulk. Salt offers more than just flavor to food and drink. Salt also does some cleansing for the skin, and I also use salt to preserve food and spices. Sometimes I've taken a foot bath with salt or a full bath with salt and felt my skin afterwards, and my skin has never felt softer. And this gives me a certain level of gratitude just to be alive. If you've had similar health challenges or have gotten through health challenges and have made it to the other side, you know what I'm talking about. My skin used to have some pretty severe symptoms. And although I do still have some issues with my skin, it is nothing compared to what I had before. So for my skin to never feel softer, its current state is amazing to me. I'll put the reference to this study in the description of the video so you can look up the results yourself. But two of the kinds of salts that they found to have higher nickel content included Persia blue and smoke salt. Whereas two of the kinds of salts that were lower nickel included pink Himalayan and Atlantic gray salt. The pink Himalayan salt and the Atlantic gray salt are two kinds of salts that I personally enjoy. There are some other gourmet salts that I found as well that aren't included in this study. There are a lot more different kinds of salts than the 10 included in this study. And even if pink Himalayan salt, different sources, they'll be similar, but their exact composition may be different. So I like contacting the companies and asking for the composition of their salt, as well as any third-party testing that might have been done on the salt. My systemic nickel allergy syndrome has required me to think outside the box. There's no way to be no nickel in lifestyle when it comes to this allergy. The best that can be done is low nickel. And so that's the way I try and live. So I use salts now, which are low nickel. And if I hadn't developed this allergy, I wouldn't have learned about different salts, their compositions, and their uses. And I wouldn't have experienced these new textures and flavors. Throughout history, salt has had a lot of value, not just because of its flavor and uses in food and drink, but also because of its purification and preservation properties. Salt has a lot of depth to enjoy. And so as I evaluate what salts I want to try, I look not just in the avoidance or following of the low nickel diet, but I also look at what do I want to add in my life. For example, in the study with the Atlantic gray salt, there was more iron and zinc in that particular kind of salt. So what electrolytes do I want to add to my life? Do I want to add iron, zinc, magnesium? And what salts contain these? Salt has a lot of options and depth to enjoy.